You ever have one of those moments where you think, finally life is going to give me something beautiful, something that's mine, something I can hold on to without anyone trying to rip it away? That was my wedding day. I had dreamed about it since I was a teenager. Not in a fairy tale princess and castle kind of way. No, I just wanted it to feel like me. Intimate, joyful, elegant without being pretentious. I wanted the people I loved there. I wanted to look over at my husband-to-be and know that in that one moment, everything was ours. But, of course, life has a funny way of throwing the ugliest curveballs at you. And in my case, that curveball came in the form of my older sister. Now, before you start picturing some sweet, supportive siblings standing by my side, let me cut that thought off right now. My sister has always been, well, two-faced. To the outside world, she's charming. People love her. They call her funny, stylish, magnetic. She knows how to light up a room when she wants to. But behind closed doors, when it's just me and her, different story. Bitter, competitive, quick to cut down anyone who dares shine brighter than her. Even me, especially me. We grew up like this. I was always the younger one, the shadow. If I got a new dress, she'd roll her eyes and mutter that I was trying too hard. If I got good grades, she'd find a way to mention how easy my classes were compared to hers. If I brought a boyfriend home, she'd flirt with him just enough to make me squirm. And then if anyone ever confronted her about it, she'd laugh. "Oh, you're being so sensitive, I was just kidding." She always knew how to twist the knife and then play innocent. So, yeah, when my wedding came around, I had this pit in my stomach. I wanted her there, she's my sister after all. But I couldn't shake the feeling that she wouldn't just let me have this. She wouldn't let me stand in the spotlight without trying to yank some of it back onto herself. And God, I was right. Let me set the scene for you. The morning of my wedding, I woke up nervous, excited, butterflies doing somersaults in my stomach. I looked around the bridal suite. Flowers everywhere, the dress hanging like a piece of magic against the wall, my friends buzzing with energy. For once, it was supposed to be my moment. I sat in front of the mirror, makeup artist working her magic, and I remember catching my own reflection. I actually smiled at myself. That almost never happens, but in that moment I thought, you did it. You made it here. This day is yours. And then, of course, the door swung open and in walked my sister. She was late. Naturally. Everyone else had been there since early morning, helping, laughing, making sure I was calm. But she strolled in like it was her show. Tight dress, hair perfectly curled, sunglasses still on indoors. She took them off slowly, dramatically, as if the room should have gasped. "Oh wow," she said, voice dripping with that fake sweet tone she uses in public. "You look nice." Nice. That's what she went with. I swallowed my irritation because I wasn't going to let her start this day off on the wrong note. I forced a smile. "Thanks. Glad you made it." She flopped down in a chair, crossed her legs, and immediately pulled out her phone. Scrolling. Not offering to help. Not asking if I needed anything. Just existing like her presence alone was some kind of gift. Now, if it had just been that, maybe I could have brushed it off. But no. The thing about my sister is she doesn't stop. She always has to push further. While the hairstylist was pinning up my veil, she piped up, loud enough for everyone to hear, "You sure that dress is the right cut for you? I mean, I guess it works, but it's not really slimming." The room went silent. My bridesmaids froze, waiting for me to snap. I clenched my fists under the vanity table and smiled into the mirror instead. "I love it. That's what matters." She smirked like she'd scored a point in a game only she was playing. The hours ticked by and every little jab kept coming. My shoes were a little plain. The flowers were not really her taste. The venue was cute but kind of small. Every word was designed to chip away at my joy. But here's the thing, I didn't give her the satisfaction of reacting. Not yet. I had a bigger picture in mind. The ceremony itself? Gorgeous. Honestly, it was everything I wanted. I walked down that aisle, saw my husband waiting, and for a few blissful moments, the world shrank to just us. The vows, the rings, the kiss, it was perfect. And then came the reception. This is where my sister decided to unleash her full chaos. We made our entrance as newlyweds, music blasting, crowd cheering. We did our first dance, cut the cake, toasted with champagne. I thought maybe, just maybe, she'd keep her mouth shut and let me have this. But no. When it came time for the speeches, she volunteered herself. She wasn't even supposed to give one. My maid of honor had something prepared. My dad had his father of the bride speech, and that was it. But she just grabbed the microphone like it was owed to her. And the words that came out of her mouth? I'll never forget them. She started off fine, generic compliments, fake smiles. But then she twisted it. She made a joke about how she never thought I'd find someone who could put up with me. She made comments about my exes, implying I was difficult. She even hinted at fights we'd had growing up, painting me as this selfish, bratty little sister. People laughed nervously, because that's what people do when they don't know whether it's a joke or not. But I knew every word was carefully chosen to humiliate me, to turn the spotlight onto her version of me, not the woman standing there in her wedding dress. And when I glanced at her while she spoke, I saw it, that little glint in her eye. Satisfaction. She wanted to ruin this for me. She wanted to etch herself into my memory of this day forever. Well, congratulations, sis. You got your wish. But what she didn't know, what she couldn't have guessed, was that I wasn't going to let her have the last word. Because if there's one thing about me that she's always underestimated, it's that I can play petty too. And unlike her, when I strike back, I make it count. So while she basked in the aftermath of her little performance, while people tried to laugh it off and move on, I was already planning. Already plotting. She thought she stole my spotlight. But I was about to take it back, in style. You know how sometimes you can just feel it, like the air in the room shifts, the temperature changes, and you know something's about to blow up? That's how it felt right after her so-called speech. People clapped, but it was awkward, scattered. The kind of clapping people do when they're not sure if they should laugh or just change the subject. I sat there, my hand still holding my champagne glass, smiling politely. But inside, I was seething. My stomach was twisting, my heart pounding. She'd done exactly what I feared, made my wedding about her. She had tried once again to reduce me to the little sister she always mocked. But here's the thing she didn't realize. This wasn't her stage. Not today. So I leaned into the mic after she handed it back, still wearing that smug grin. I laughed, light and airy, and said, "Wow. Only my sister could turn my wedding into open mic night. But thank you, sis, because if anyone ever doubted which one of us is the drama queen, I think they know now." The room erupted. People laughed, really laughed this time. Not that nervous half-chuckle, but genuine laughter. And just like that, the spotlight flipped back onto me. Her face. It was priceless. She froze for just a second, like she didn't know whether to laugh along or be furious. Then she forced a smile, the kind that looked like it hurt her cheeks. I raised my glass higher. "To family," I said sweetly, looking straight at her. "The ones who love you and the ones who just love being loud." Another wave of laughter. She sank back into her seat, and for the first time that night I saw it, the crack in her armor. But don't worry. That was just the warm-up. See, I wasn't going to stop there. She wanted to play games? Fine. I know her weaknesses. I've had a front row seat to them my whole life. And if she wanted to steal the spotlight on my wedding day, then she'd better be ready for what happens when I take it back. The music kicked in and people started moving to the dance floor. I danced with my husband, with my dad, with my friends. And while I smiled, laughed, and twirled around, I kept an eye on her. She was sitting off to the side, sulking, swirling her wine glass like she was some tragic figure in a movie. Occasionally she'd grab someone and whisper in their ear, probably talking trash about me as always. But the thing is, at a wedding, energy spreads. And hers, it was sour. So I made a choice. If she wanted to be bitter, I'd make her bitterness the joke of the night. During the bouquet toss, I called her name directly. Loud, playful, like it was all in good fun. "Come on, sis, you can't hide in the corner. Get over here." Everyone turned to look at her. She had no choice. She stomped over, heels clicking, and stood there with the single girls. I tossed the bouquet high into the air and guess what? It landed right in her hands. The room erupted with cheers, whistles, people shouting, "You're next." She stood there frozen, gripping those flowers like they'd betrayed her. Her face was beet red, caught between fury and embarrassment. Me. I smiled the sweetest, most innocent smile I could muster. Looks like the universe has spoken. The crowd laughed again. And once again the spotlight was on me, because I had turned her moment into a joke. But here's the thing. I wasn't done. The real revenge? The one that would sting long after the night was over? That was still coming. Because weddings aren't just about ceremonies or dances. They're about stories. The stories people carry away, the ones they'll retell at every holiday, every family reunion. And I was about to give them one they'd never forget. It happened during the dance floor chaos. You know how weddings get, people sweaty, drinks flowing, everyone letting loose. My sister had tossed back one too many glasses of wine and she was feeling bold again. She strutted out to the dance floor, grabbed the mic from the DJ and tried to start a karaoke moment. "This is my song," she shouted, slurring just a little. She started belting out some pop anthem off-key, stumbling over the words. People cheered at first because hey, drunk karaoke at weddings is funny. But as she kept going, it wasn't funny anymore. It was painful. Cringe. The kind of second-hand embarrassment that makes you want to look away. And then came the cherry on top. She tripped. Right there in the middle of the dance floor, mic in hand, she lost her balance and went down hard. Heels flying, skirt flipping up just enough to give everyone a little too much information. The room gasped, then burst out laughing. Cameras flashed, phones recorded, people shouted. I rushed over, all fake concern plastered on my face. "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" I said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Don't worry, sis. Weddings can be overwhelming when you're not the bride." Boom. The laughter doubled. People clutched their stomachs. My husband had to turn away so she wouldn't see him laughing too. She scrambled up, face red, hair a mess, trying to brush herself off. "I'm fine," she snapped, but the damage was done. From that moment on, she wasn't the glamorous, two-faced queen of the room anymore. She was the drunk sister who crashed and burned at my wedding. And I made sure that memory stuck. Every time someone brought up the wedding afterward, I'd casually slip it in. "Oh yeah, the flowers were beautiful, the cake was delicious, and remember when my sister fell on the dance floor? Iconic." And people would laugh all over again. She wanted the spotlight. He got it. Just not the way she wanted. Me. I felt a satisfaction I can't even describe. Not because I humiliated her. Though let's be honest, that was pretty sweet. But because for once I was in control of the story. She didn't get to define me on my wedding day. I defined her. And I wasn't done yet. Because weddings end, sure, but the fallout? That lasts. And I had plans to make sure she remembered this day for a long, long time. The thing about weddings is, they don't end when the music stops. Sure, the lights come up, the DJ packs up his speakers and the staff starts sweeping confetti off the floor. But the stories? The gossip? That lives on. And oh boy, did my sister give them plenty to talk about. The morning after, I woke up in the hotel suite with my husband, groggy but happy. I rolled over, checked my phone, and what did I see? Notifications blowing up. Group chats, tags, photos, videos. Oh yes, people had caught everything. The karaoke disaster, the fall, her flash of red lace underwear when her skirt flipped up. There were at least 3 different angles of it floating around already. I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my phone on my face. My husband just shook his head, grinning. "She's never living that down," he said. And he was right. By brunch, the whispers had already started. My cousins replayed the video at the table, giggling. My aunts tooted about how embarrassing it was. Even my parents, who usually tiptoed around her behavior, looked tired. My dad sighed into his coffee. "She's old enough to know better." But you know what my sister did? She doubled down. She showed up late to brunch, sunglasses on, hair thrown into a messy bun like she'd been through war. She sat down with this exaggerated groan and announced, "Ugh, I had so much fun last night, didn't you all? God, I was hilarious." Nobody answered. Just awkward silence. She smirked anyway, pretending like she hadn't just been the punchline of the entire wedding. That's her thing. If she can't win, she rewrites the story in her head so she still comes out on top. But the thing is, this time she couldn't. The evidence was everywhere. The videos, the whispers, the way people couldn't even look at her without smirking. Me. I sat there buttering my toast, smiling to myself. Because for once she couldn't spin it. She couldn't paint me as the sensitive one. She couldn't gaslight the room into believing she was flawless. She had handed me the perfect revenge material. And I was not going to waste it. See, I'm not the kind of person who goes for big, explosive revenge. That's her style. Dramatic, messy, attention-grabbing. I prefer the slow burn. The kind that creeps up subtle but leaves scars you can't ignore. So I started planting seeds. At brunch, when people brought up the fall, I'd laugh gently and say, "Oh, don't tease her too much. It's just that she's not used to not being the center of attention." A harmless little jab. Just enough to make people nod. When relatives posted photos of the wedding, I'd slide into the comments, "Beautiful night. Remember when my sister stole the mic?" Classic. Not mean. Just a reminder. A little poke every time. And at family gatherings in the weeks that followed, I'd let it slip oh so casually. Careful with the wine around her, we all know how that ends. Cue laughter. Cue her glare. Cue my innocent smile. It wasn't just me either. Once the story was out, it grew legs. My cousins told their friends. My aunts told neighbors. Soon it wasn't just our family laughing, it was everyone. She became the wedding disaster sister. And no matter how hard she tried to shrug it off, you could see it in her face every time someone brought it up. She hated it. That's the thing about two-faced people. They thrive on controlling the narrative. They need people to see the mask, not the mess underneath. And when you rip that mask away, they're naked, exposed, vulnerable. Now don't get me wrong, I wasn't just sitting around waiting for her to collapse under the weight of her own embarrassment. Oh no. I wanted to make sure she never tried this with me again. So I set a little trap. See, she had this habit of bragging about her perfect life. Perfect job, perfect boyfriend, perfect apartment. Always trying to one-up me. But the truth? I knew things weren't so perfect. I knew she was barely scraping by, juggling bills, fighting with her boyfriend constantly. So at the next family dinner, when she tried to make a jab at me, something about how weddings are nice but real life is harder, you'll see, I just smiled and said, "Oh, totally. But at least when my husband and I fight, he doesn't storm out and sleep at his friend's place for 3 nights straight." The table went dead silent. Her jaw dropped. "What are you talking about?" I sipped my wine. "Oh, didn't you tell Mom? He was crashing at Jake's last month." Funny, small world. You could practically hear the air suck out of the room. She turned scarlet, stammering, trying to deny it. But the thing is, everyone knew. She'd been loud enough about it at some point that the neighbors heard. No. She couldn't hide it. I didn't push further. I didn't need to. The damage was done. From that moment she stopped coming for me. Not completely, because people like her never stop entirely, but the sharp edge of her cruelty dulled. She knew I had ammo. She knew I wasn't afraid to use it. And that was victory. Not just because I'd gotten revenge, but because I'd finally broken the cycle. She couldn't lord over me anymore. She couldn't humiliate me and walk away laughing. Not without knowing I had the power to humiliate her right back. The funny thing is, though, revenge isn't clean. It's not like in movies where you get the last word, the credits roll, and everyone claps. In real life, it's messy. And the fallout from my wedding? It got messy. Because the more I leaned into the story, the more the cracks in my sister's life started to show. And once cracks show, well, people stop pretending the wall is solid. By the time the dust settled from the wedding and the brunch aftermath, I realized something important. Petty revenge is like a slow-burning fire. It doesn't just flare up and die. It lingers, warming you, burning them in small, precise ways. And my sister? Oh, she was smoldering. It started small. I'd casually mention a funny wedding mishap to relatives, always highlighting her in a humorous, slightly humiliating way. Remember when Megan almost knocked over the champagne tower? I'd say, smiling innocently. The room would erupt in laughter, some people snorting wine through their noses, and I'd watch her forced smile twitch like a reflex. She'd try to laugh along to make it look like it didn't bother her, but I could see it. The way her eyes darted around, searching for allies, trying to find someone to agree with her version of events. But everyone, they were already hooked on my version. They had the footage, the stories, and most importantly, my delivery. The next escalation happened during the first family holiday after the wedding. Thanksgiving. She arrived wearing a brand new outfit, perfectly styled hair, makeup flawless. She wanted attention, wanted people to admire her look at me energy. I had a plan. We were sitting around the table passing dishes, everyone chatting. She launched into a story about how she was the best aunt already, clearly angling for praise. I leaned back, poured myself some cider and asked in my calmest tone, "Oh, that's nice. Did you tell the baby what happened at the wedding with your mic incident?" She froze. "What?" I smiled innocently. "Oh, everyone's been talking about it. The fall, the karaoke, the bouquet. People still can't stop laughing about it. It's kind of iconic." Her hand trembled slightly over the mashed potatoes. I don't. I cut her off gently. "Oh, don't worry, it's not a big deal. This keeps popping up. People love a good wedding story." The family laughed. I laughed. Everyone laughed. Except her. She wilted. And just like that, my little reminder ignited a chain reaction. For the rest of the evening, she was defensive, sniping at minor comments and generally tense. I sat back and watched, satisfied. Then came the Instagram post. Oh yes. My sister loved social media. She curated her life like an art gallery, posting flawless selfies, cocktails, outfits, brunches, all carefully staged. Perfect lighting, perfect smile. Everything measured to impress. I couldn't resist. I started tagging harmlessly in pictures from the wedding, captions like, "Celebrating the bride." Hashtag my queen Megan, hashtag dance floor legend, hashtag bouquet champion. One by one my friends liked and commented. Family chimed in. Even distant relatives from the Midwest got notifications. She couldn't delete it all fast enough. The comments kept rolling, screenshots were taken, and suddenly the video of her karaoke disaster went viral within our circle. She stormed into my house later that week, furious. I could hear her from the driveway before she even knocked. Her voice, loud, sharp, angry. "I can't believe you. You're making fun of me in front of everyone. That's so unfair." I greeted her at the door with a smile, totally calm. "Oh hey sis. I didn't make fun of you. I just shared a memory. People love a good story." She tried to argue, flailing her hands. It wasn't funny. You're cruel." I laughed softly, letting it hang in the air. "Maybe. But sometimes life is funny. Sometimes people need a little perspective." Perspective. That was the key. My revenge wasn't about public humiliation. It was about reminding her of the consequences of being two-faced. Every time she tried to manipulate a story, I gently, but deliberately, steered it back to her antics. And it worked. Over the next few months, family events became mine to control subtly. Every wedding, birthday, dinner, or casual gathering was an opportunity. I wasn't mean or vindictive. I wasn't trying to ruin her life. I just made sure the narrative favored truth over her facade. I remember one dinner vividly. She tried to shame me for something trivial. My choice of career, my fussy approach to baby care, even the paint color in my nursery. I smiled, nodding, and then casually said, Oh, I remember when you insisted you were a natural singer at my wedding, and the mic had other plans. Everyone still talks about it. The table erupted in laughter and she slumped into her chair. No words could defend her. I let her stew, sipping my wine, enjoying the satisfaction of subtle justice. But the most satisfying moment? The moment I realized my revenge had fully worked? It wasn't in the laughs or the social media post. It was watching her adjust her behavior over time. She stopped trying to dominate events, stopped trying to manipulate conversations. She still smiled and played nice in public, but that edge that need to control me was gone. Victory in this case wasn't explosive. It wasn't a dramatic confrontation. It was a slow, sweet dismantling of her illusions. Her belief that she could always overshadow me. And I had learned something important along the way. Petty revenge, when done with subtlety and precision, isn't cruel. It's poetic. It's a lesson without raising your voice, a reminder that the world doesn't always bend to those who try to dominate it. By the time our next family gathering rolled around, she was quieter, more careful. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes the way it used to. She watched me carefully, weighing every word, every smile, every gesture. And I smiled back knowingly, as I knew the truth. I knew that my wedding day had been mine, and that every little moment she tried to twist or control had, in fact, set the stage for my most satisfying victory yet. By the time the dust settled from the wedding, the brunches, the family gatherings, and every little jab I'd strategically placed, something had changed. Not just in my sister, but in me. I won't lie. Revenge, even subtle revenge, carries a weight. It's a little thrill, sure, but it also makes you reflect. Every time I laughed about her karaoke incident or dropped a perfectly timed anecdote, I caught myself thinking, am I too petty? But then I reminded myself, she started it. She spent my entire wedding trying to steal my joy, twist the narrative, and make the day about her. And for once I got to reclaim it. Not with yelling or drama, but with subtle, calculated poise. In the weeks and months that followed, family gatherings were different. She wasn't absent, but she wasn't the center of attention either. Her attempts at manipulation became cautious, measured. She still smiled, still laughed, but I could see the restraint behind her eyes. And honestly, it was satisfying. The petty victories piled up. Small comments in conversation, photos I shared on social media, casual mentions of her infamous wedding night mic disaster. Each one reminded her, subtly but unmistakably, that she could no longer control the narrative. She was no longer the queen of the room. And the beauty of it was that I didn't have to raise my voice. I didn't have to be cruel or vindictive. I just had to remember her tendencies, anticipate her moves, and respond in kind. It was strategy. It was patience. It was justice in the smallest, sweetest increments. I also realized something important about myself. For years I let her shadow me. Let her manipulate, belittle, and steal small pieces of my confidence. But the wedding taught me that I could stand my ground. That I could assert myself quietly but firmly and still remain the kind of person I want to be. Gracious, composed, and unapologetically me. The ultimate irony? By the time she fully grasped that her attempts to dominate my wedding had backfired, I was already free. Free from feeling anxious whenever she entered a room, free from worrying that she'd ruin special moments, free from letting her control my happiness. Now I can laugh at it. I can tell this story knowing that every bit of tension, every smirk, every small humiliation she tried to dish out ended up reinforcing my own confidence and composure. And here's the takeaway. Revenge doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to burn bridges or create chaos. Sometimes the most satisfying revenge is subtle, calculated, and completely under the radar. It's the kind where the world sees you thriving, calm, happy, and confident, while the person who tried to ruin it realizes too late that they misjudged you. So if you've ever felt overshadowed by a sibling, a colleague, or even a friend, remember this. Patience and strategy beat impulsive anger every time. Take note, observe, and when the right moment comes, act, not recklessly but smartly. That's the sweet, quiet power of petty revenge done well. Before I go, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had a family member try to steal your moment, ruin your happiness, or manipulate a celebration? How did you respond? Drop your story in the comments. I read them all and love hearing how people reclaim their joy in creative ways. And of course, if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss the next tale of revenge. Trust me, there's always another story waiting, another sibling, neighbor, or coworker whose arrogance is about to meet its match. Until next time, remember, sometimes the quietest, cleverest victories are the ones that hurt the most. And sometimes the sweetest satisfaction isn't in the spectacle. It's in the knowledge that you were in control all along.